Hey everyone, Rob here from Gunfather Milsim, and today we're going to do part one of a two-part series on airsoft sniper rifles. Now this is a really big subject and I could probably make a 30-minute video on it, but no one would watch. So I'm going to try to keep this to 12 to 15 minutes and not really get too into the nitty-gritty of this brand apart versus that brand apart, and try to keep everything a little more macro, something that would be a little more helpful to the newer players. For starters, if you want to get into airsoft sniping and you don't want to be an airsoft tech, do not get into airsoft sniping, because although they are very simple machines, definitely much simpler than an AEG, they require constant teching and messing with and taking apart and switching out parts and put it back together. It is a very tech intensive operation, and if you don't enjoy taking guns apart, putting them back together, don't even go down this path, because you're going to be very frustrated and you're not going to get the performance out of the airsoft sniper rifle that you really want to get. Okay, first thing you're going to want to do is pick which airsoft sniper rifle you want to upgrade. This video is just going to pertain to spring rifles because that's the most common, in my opinion, the most reliable, and that's what I have a lot of experience with. So I'll just stick to those. Understand that the main thing you're looking for is how much aftermarket parts support you have for that particular style of rifle. I originally purchased an Echo One M28 when they first came out. It was a great gun, but it didn't have a lot of aftermarket part support because it had just come out. And eventually I found myself very limited because I kept stripping pistons because nobody made an aftermarket piston that was stronger than the stock one. So I was kind of stuck and I got very frustrated with that build. Next one I purchased was a Tokyo Marui VSR-10, which is kind of the standard for spring sniper rifles. There's tons and tons and tons of aftermarket support, and if you don't know anything else about airsoft sniper rifles, I would recommend you get a Tokyo Marui VSR-10 or one of the many clones out there. JG Bar 10 is one of the most common clones, but there's more of them out there. Just kind of do your research. And the big thing you're looking for is part compatibility. They're going to say, 100% VSR-10 compatible. Just be forewarned, even if it says that in the advertisement, it isn't always true. Do a little research, do some Google searching, and confirm that, because there's lots of people out there that are looking into this, and you'll find a thread somewhere on some forum explaining exactly how compatible that weapon is. So this is my current sniper rifle. It is a Tokyo Marui VSR-10. It was originally a G-Spec, which means it had a silencer on it. I got rid of that because I wanted a shorter barrel and a shorter weapon profile in general. Highly upgraded. And I'm going to go over real quick some of the upgrades I've done on this, kind of give you an idea where you might want to go with yours. The first thing you're going to look at upgrading is your trigger sear. The industry standard for the VSR-10 is a Leylac Zero trigger. It costs about $200. It's pretty much your most expensive upgrade. Basically what you're doing there is there's a point where your trigger sear engages the piston as the piston comes over it. The stock ones are at a 45-degree angle. They can't handle the high FPS loads of an upgraded sniper rifle. So your stock, you're looking at 400 FPS-ish, 450 maybe. They can handle that just fine, but when you upgrade to 550, which is basically the field limit for most fields, they're going to have trouble handling that stronger spring weight, and as a result they're going to fail. So what you want to do is have an upgraded sear, 90-degree sear. For me, I got the Leylac Zero trigger. There are other Zero triggers out there. There's other knockoffs. I hear the Action Army one is very good, but this is what I have. It's always worked, so this is what I stick with. In fact, when I purchased this gun, I bought it used off eBay, and the only thing I was looking for was a VSR-10 that had a Leylac Zero trigger, because that's your most expensive upgrade, and if you get that with the gun, I really didn't care what else was done to it, because I can replace everything else as long as that most expensive part is taken care of first. Okay, next I'm going to talk about barrel length. Now this is going to rub some people the wrong way, but understand that barrel length is irrelevant. You can have a gun that has just as much performance and range and accuracy at 300 millimeters as you do with 520. Okay, so in my opinion, let's go with the shorter barrel, so it's easier to move around and easier to carry. Now, there's a lot of caveats to that, and don't fill the comment section with this and what that. Understand, if you design a gun with the right spring weight and the right piston, and you can get your desired FPS out of a barrel this long, then you're good to go. And it's going to be every bit as accurate as a barrel this long with the same FPS. Barrel length is wholly irrelevant to accuracy and range. All that matters is the FPS you can get out of that barrel length. All right? As far as barrels are concerned, lots of different manufacturers. Edgy and PDI are two of the big ones, and there are guys who swear up and down by PDI. That's all they're going to use, and so on. I'm using Action Army 603 millimeter type bore barrel. It's 303 millimeters long, and it works great for this gun. I have no intention of changing it, and for what it's worth, Action Army is kind of more the, they make good parts, but they're not as expensive as some of the other stuff, and I've gotten great performance out of it. Someday I might try 601 just to see if it performs better, but my gut tells me it's probably not going to perform any better. So next we're going to move on to the actual internals. Okay, I'm talking here about your spring guide, your piston, your cylinder head, that sort of thing. Now, just like with barrels, there are people who swear by certain manufacturers. They will only make a gun that is all PDI and all their parts are shit. Well, in my experience, I wouldn't get too wrapped around the axle on actual brands. Here's what I did. I've built in several VSR 10s, and I've got a big parts bin just full of parts. And with this current build, I took a lot of those parts, threw them together, no idea what is PDI, what is Lalax, what is Action Army, what is whatever. Threw them all together and it performs great. Okay, these are not complicated machines, they're very simple. Okay, what you're looking at is consistency. And with airsoft sniper rifles, in fact with all sniper rifles, consistency is accuracy. All right, what you're looking for is to get as consistent an FPS shot to shot as you can. So if you can get it within 3 or 4 FPS, that's very good. Within 1 or 2 is amazing. That's what the goal is, but it's kind of hard to achieve that. So whatever combination of parts in your gun, between your cylinder head, piston, whatever, give you that consistent air seal, that consistent plus or minus 3 FPS, that's what you should go with. Okay, and that's what I have here. Once again, couldn't tell you what parts are in it, but it's very consistent and it works very well. Okay, next I'm going to move on to hop up. The hop up is the most critical piece of the gun when it comes to range and accuracy. So a lot of people spend time messing around with different barrels and barrel lengths and barrel width and internal parts when they should really be messing with their hop up. Okay, because the little changes in your hop up make a huge difference. Industry standard right now for a VSR 10 is pretty much the Action Army hop up. Lots of guys like it, don't have any experience with it. I use my stock hop up because I like how easy it is to install the barrel, because it basically splits open in half and you can lay the barrel in there and make sure everything's lined up perfectly, and I like that. I do have quite a few aftermarket parts on my stock VSR 10 hop up. I have a Maple Leaf hop up arm and a 60-degree Maple Leaf Autobot bucking, which is pretty much what a lot of guys recommend. I've also used 9-ball buckings and had very good results from those. You can use what you want. I'm sure those aren't the only 2 options that produce good results. One thing I have done is done the top dead center mod. You see this little screw right here? Basically what that does is as you tighten that screw, it pushes down on that hop up arm, so all the force is coming straight down. One of the problems with the stock hop up units is the arm that pushes down on the hop up kind of comes in from the side up and over, so it pushes hard on the left side. So if you ever look up the VSR 10 left curve that BB's tend to go left, it's because there's a little more force on the left side, and that's why. And that is nearly impossible to get rid of without modifying your gun. This mod is not terribly difficult to do, but you definitely need to have the right tools and you need to look into it and look it up on YouTube. There's lots of people showing you how to do that mod. Basically what it does is it makes it so that you're pushing straight down on the hop up arm, and therefore that BB goes perfectly straight as far as the hop up is concerned. Now the reason it's so important for that BB to go perfectly straight is because you only have so much FPS to use to propel that BB downrange, all right? And every bit of it that you waste, either going left or going right or even going up with your hop up, is less range you're going to get out of that BB. So what you want to do is have it go perfectly straight so you don't lose any range veering left or right. And you want it to use the minimum amount of hop up that you can get to get that BB to rise and go straight and flat. The more it rises more than it needs to, or the more it veers left to right, you're losing range, and you're losing a lot of range. So the straighter that BB goes, the better off you are. And that's kind of the goal. That's the ultimate goal, what you're going for. Which brings me to BB weight. Now, the heavier your BB, the more consistency you're going to get, and the less that BB is going to be deflected by things like wind and whatnot. There's also jewel creep to take into consideration. Now, there's kind of a long explanation to this, but short explanation. A heavier BB, although it will technically move slower, will maintain its velocity better than a lighter BB. It comes down to the surface area. The BBs are exactly the same, and one is heavier than the other, and that's why the heavier one maintains. Okay, that's the short explanation. If you build an airsoft sniper rifle and you're shooting .2s or .25s, you're not going to get that performance you want. .32s works better, blah blah blah. For my money, I use longbow .45 gram BBs. You can buy these in England. They cost about $20 for 1,000. Sounds like a lot, but it's really not in the grand scheme of things. And obviously you don't shoot a sniper rifle as much as you shoot an AEG. On a really, really long 8-hour day of shooting, I might go through 400 shots if I'm having a really busy day. So what is that, in the grand scheme of things, that's $10. So get good BBs. The heavier your BBs, the more performance you're going to get out of that sniper rifle. You want to use the heaviest BB that you can legally, because some fields limit the BB weight you can use. Always look at the rules. The fields I play at allow .45s. You got a chrono with .32s and joules and blah blah blah. You want to use the heaviest BB that your hop up can put adequate hop on. This rifle puts good hop on .45 gram BBs, no problem. So that's what I use. I've had very good luck with them and excellent accuracy with them. Last thing I want to talk about is scopes. Now, airsoft scopes and real steel scopes are two entirely different animals. Okay, you do not need a really expensive scope for airsoft. No shit. However, there are some things you want to do. Don't buy an airsoft scope because they're shit. And there's enough discount model scopes out there for real steel rifles that pretty much cost the same amount, and you're going to get a lot more performance out of those than you would a airsoft scope like a Leapers that you're going to buy off e-bike. Don't buy those, they're shit. Now let's say you're looking for just a cheap but good scope for airsoft. I would recommend that you go with the Tasco. Okay, now this is my old scope, 1-inch rings. I would recommend 1-inch rings for all airsoft scopes because it's, once you get to 30 millimeters, it gets kind of expensive and not really necessary. Now this Tasco scope is a 2.5 to 10 magnification by 42. What do all those numbers mean? Basically, your magnification level is 2.5 times to 10 times. I usually use 6 power for pretty much everything airsoft related. You can crank it up to 10 if you want to see further and really identify stuff. But this scope costs like $100, and it's a great scope for the money. These are cheap UTG mounts. I think they cost like $20. You might want to spend a little more than that on your mounts, but this served me well for a very, very long time. The 42 is the objective lens size. You kind of want a bigger objective lens because it lets more light in and it makes it easier to see. 42 is about what I usually go with, somewhere in the 40s. You don't want to get anything really low or you're going to have a hard time seeing through that scope. I don't really want to get too deep into the water here on scopes because you can really talk all day about them. But this is what I was using. This is a good scope for airsoft. I recently upgraded to the Vortex Diamondback HP, which is 4 to 16 by, once again, 42 millimeter. Okay, still 1-inch rings. Upgraded my rings to some Blackhawk rings. This scope offers a lot more kind of functionality than the Tasco. It's a little more expensive, Cost about $280, give or take. I wanted a better scope. I wanted something that had a little bit better glass and it was more comfortable to look through. So once again, this gives me more magnification. This gives me 4 to 16 instead of 2.5 to 10, but I still only use it on 6. It's very rare that I even go above 10. Great scope, much better than the Tasco, and I've had really good luck with it. I don't think I'm ever going to go anything nicer than that for airsoft because there's just no point. Reticles, I mean, we can get into deep water reticles, but for airsoft purposes, they're irrelevant. Okay, a lot of people like to compare like airsoft scope data to real steel scope data, and there's no point because it's not the same thing. Okay. Other than that, there's a few little things you might want to do to your rifle, give you a little bit of edge here and there. Some people like their rifles to shoot very quiet, and they try to like make suppressors and fill foam with them and crap like that. But a lot of that noise that comes when you shoot these is from the sound echoing inside the body of the rifle, which is usually hollow. Fortunately for me, when I purchased this gun, it was somebody else's custom build. Like I said, it came with the Laylac Zero Trigger in it, and this guy had already filled the stock with foam. Additionally, he filled the entire buttstock with modeling clay and ball bearings, which sounds weird, but it adds some heft and some weight to the rifle, which makes it a little more realistic. It also keeps all that weight in the back and makes it easier to balance. It's a really nice upgrade that I probably wouldn't have thought of, and I'm glad whoever owned this rifle before me did that for me. So as a result, all the space inside this rifle, this empty space, is taken up by either foam or modeling clay. So when you shoot it, it's incredibly quiet. Okay, so that's kind of a nice to have upgrade. I added these QD mounts here and here on the back. That's so I can use my Slick Magpul MS1 sling here. That's incredibly comfortable, and it just makes it easier to deploy this rifle. The traditional on the bottom of the rifle are kind of a pain in the ass to run around the field with. So, you know, this a lot easier. That's about it for the first video, which is just on build. Next video, I'm going to get more into setup, and that'll come more into, you know, how you're going to actually set up all the crap on this rifle between your hop up and your sling and everything to really maximize your efficiency on the field and maximize it working for you. Okay, so today was just all tech stuff. Got any questions, comments? Feel free to throw them in the section. Thanks for watching.